The sun was shining brightly over London. It was a Tuesday morning and everything seemed normal outside Kensington Palace. The birds flew gently over the garden, and the wind softly touched the green trees. Inside the palace, royal staff moved through the beautiful halls with quiet footsteps. They were polishing silver, arranging fresh flowers, and checking schedules for Prince William and Princess Kate. But something was different. Very different. At 10:30 a.m., the phone on the secretary's desk rang. Sarah, the head secretary who had worked for the royal family for over 15 years, answered it with her usual calm voice. But when she heard who was speaking, her hand began to shake. It was Prince William. His voice was low, filled with emotion. "Please cancel all appointments," he said. "Kate and we need to go somewhere today. It's important. Please, don't ask questions." Sarah had never heard him speak like this. She looked at her schedule. There were meetings with government leaders, a charity luncheon, and a visit to an important school. But William was clear. Cancel everything. She did not ask why. She simply said, "Yes, Your Highness," and hung up the phone with a strange feeling in her chest. Something was about to happen. Something big. Something powerful. The palace halls started to buzz. Staff whispered quietly. Why had the day changed so suddenly? Why did the Duke and Duchess cancel all their events? Everyone felt that something serious had happened. Meanwhile, in a private room upstairs, Kate sat on a soft sofa, holding a letter in her hand. Her eyes were red from crying. William walked back and forth across the room, his face pale and full of emotion. The letter had arrived just 2 hours earlier, delivered by hand. It was written by a nurse named Jennifer. Jennifer worked at St. Mary's Children's Hospital in London. She had been taking care of a 7-year-old girl named Emma. Emma had cancer. She had been sick for many months and now was getting worse. Emma loved fairy tales. Her hospital room was filled with pictures of castles, princesses, and stars. She wore a plastic tiara every day and called herself Princess Emma. She told stories to the other children and made them laugh, even when she was in pain. The nurse wrote in the letter that Emma had one special wish, just one dream. She wanted to meet a real prince and princess before it was too late. Jennifer knew the royal family was busy, but she wrote the letter anyway, hoping someone might read it. She did not expect anything to happen. She just hoped. When Kate finished reading the letter, she placed her hand on her heart. She looked at William. No words were needed. They both knew. They had to go. They had to meet Emma. William made the phone call. Appointments were canceled. The palace staff moved quickly. Everyone worked together like one big family. The cook packed small cakes. A royal assistant collected soft toys and picture books. Another went to the palace vaults and returned with something very special. A real tiara, small and delicate, once worn by Princess Diana. Kate picked it up with gentle hands. It sparkled softly in the light. She whispered, "This is for Emma." By 11:15 a.m. the royal car was ready, a quiet black vehicle with no flags, no attention. It waited at the side entrance. William and Kate walked down the palace stairs side by side. They looked like themselves, not as royals, but as a young couple filled with quiet purpose. Their faces were serious but soft. Their hands were close. Their hearts were heavy, but ready. The security team stood near the car, not saying a word. The staff at the windows watched silently. Many had tears in their eyes. This was not a royal duty. This was love in action. The car pulled away. No photographers, no news reporters. Just a silent ride through the streets of London. William held Kate's hand. Kate looked out the window, thinking about Emma, wondering if she was drawing another castle. William said quietly, "This might be the most important visit we've ever made." Kate nodded. "Yes, and the most real." As they drove, their driver took a small turn and stopped at a flower shop. William stepped out and bought 12 Small bouquets, one for each child in the hospital. Bright yellow flowers, simple and beautiful. Flowers full of light. Back inside the car, Kate opened her handbag and read the nurse's letter again. She had read it 5 times already, but still, it made her eyes tear up. Every word, every sentence, felt like it had been written by someone who truly cared. "Emma is more than a patient," Kate whispered. "She's a light." William looked at her and nodded. "Let's make her smile." As the hospital came into view, both of them took a deep breath. This visit was secret. It was not about being seen. It was about being there. Inside the hospital, Nurse Jennifer had no idea that her letter had changed the day at Kensington Palace. She was placing a blanket over Emma's small legs. Emma was smiling as she finished another drawing of a tall castle and a brave princess. The drawing was titled, "The Day My Dream Came True." She didn't know it yet, but behind the hospital's side entrance, a black car had just arrived, and 2 royal hearts were about to walk into her world. And nothing would ever be the same again. As the black royal car moved through the streets of London, Prince William and Kate sat quietly. The sky was still bright, but inside the car, the mood was heavy with emotion. Kate held the letter from Nurse Jennifer tightly in her lap. William kept glancing out the window, his jaw tight, his mind filled with thoughts of a brave little girl named Emma. They were not on their way to a meeting with world leaders. They were not attending a royal event. They were going to visit one child, just one, but that child had touched their hearts in a way that no speech or ceremony ever had. Back at Kensington Palace, the halls were quieter than usual. The usual noise of footsteps, ringing phones, and moving trays had stopped. Everyone was thinking about the journey William and Kate had just started. Some staff stood near the windows, looking out at the long driveway, remembering the moment the car left. Others sat silently, still thinking about the strange and powerful feeling in the air that morning. Sarah, the head secretary, sat back in her chair. Her fingers lightly touched the phone where she had taken William's call just an hour ago. She could still hear his voice. Not loud, not royal, just full of emotion. Down in the palace kitchen, Chef Mark had just finished packing the box of small cakes for the hospital children. He placed the cakes with extra care, adding small napkins and writing a note on top. It simply said, "From our hearts to yours." In another part of the palace, Kate's personal assistant had returned from the vault room. In her hands was a small box lined with velvet. Inside it lay the beautiful silver tiara. It was small but elegant, once worn by Princess Diana herself. The crystals were soft in color, not too bright, perfect for a little girl with a big heart. Kate had chosen it carefully. She didn't want to give Emma just any gift. She wanted to give her something with meaning. Something that would make her feel like the true princess she already was. In their car, Kate looked down at the velvet box resting on her lap. She carefully opened it again. The tiara sparkled even under the soft sunlight coming through the window. She imagined placing it on Emma's head and seeing her smile. That thought alone gave her strength. William looked at Kate. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. Kate nodded. "I'm nervous," she said. "But ready?" William smiled. "Just a little." "Me too." They weren't wearing their royal clothes. William wore a simple gray sweater and dark trousers. Kate wore a plain blue dress with soft flat shoes. They didn't want to look formal. They wanted to look kind and gentle. They wanted to be there as people, not as royals. As the car moved through the quieter streets, they avoided all the usual traffic spots. The route had been planned by security to avoid any reporters or photographers. No one in the public knew about this visit. It was private. It was personal. The only people at the hospital who knew were the director and the head of security. The other doctors, nurses, and even the children had no idea that royalty was on the way. At St. Mary's Children's Hospital, the morning was like many others. Nurses walked between rooms. Children watched cartoons or rested in their beds. Parents sat by their children holding hands, whispering stories, or wiping tears. In room 204, Emma was coloring another picture. This one was a drawing of a magical kingdom in the sky. It had soft pink clouds, flying horses, and a giant castle with a golden door. She was wearing her plastic tiara, as always. She didn't know it yet, but her dream was getting closer with every passing minute. Back in the car, William asked the driver to stop. "Let's get flowers," he said. The driver pulled up to a small flower shop on a quiet corner. William stepped out and entered the shop. The florist looked surprised, but quickly smiled when she realized who he was. He asked for bright flowers. "Happy ones," he said. He chose yellow daisies, orange tulips, and small pink roses. 12 bouquets, he told her, one for each child. Back in the car, Kate smiled at the flowers. "They'll love those," she said. "I hope so," William answered. They didn't speak much during the rest of the drive. They both sat in silence, thinking about Emma. The letter had mentioned how she helped other children even while being very sick herself. She told stories about brave princesses and magical lands. She made other kids laugh. She gave them hope. "That's true royalty," Kate whispered. William looked at her. "She's braver than most people I know." As they neared the hospital, the mood in the car changed. It became quieter, heavier. But it was not a bad feeling. It was the feeling of something important, something real. When the hospital came into view, Kate took a deep breath. She placed the tiara back into its box and closed the lid carefully. William straightened his sweater and picked up the flower bouquets. "This is her moment," Kate said. "Let's make it special." The car turned onto a private path behind the hospital. A nurse opened a quiet side door. There were no cameras, no guards in uniform. Just soft shoes, soft voices, and soft hearts. The elevator took them to the 4th floor. When the doors opened, a nurse at the station gasped. She had not been told who was coming. She quickly stood up, her eyes wide with shock and joy. Prince William nodded kindly. "We're here to meet someone," he said. Kate smiled. A very special someone. And as they began to walk down the hallway, every step brought them closer to the moment that would soon leave the whole hospital in tears and fill one little girl's heart with a joy no crown could ever bring. The elevator doors opened with a soft sound. Prince William and Kate stepped out onto the 4th floor of St. Mary's Children's Hospital. The hallway was bright and colorful. The walls were painted with balloons, smiling animals, and stars. But behind the colors there was silence, a heavy, emotional silence. Nurses at the station looked up and froze. Their eyes widened when they saw the royal couple. A few of them covered their mouths in surprise. One nurse dropped her pen. Another stood so quickly her chair rolled backward. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, head of the children's ward, stepped forward. Quickly. She'd been told only 30 minutes ago that special visitors were coming. But when she saw William and Kate walking toward her, her hands started to shake. "Your Highnesses," she said, her voice soft. William gave a warm smile. "Please, just William and Kate today." Kate nodded and added, "We're here as friends." They didn't look like the people who appeared on TV or in newspapers. They looked like a kind man and woman who wanted to help. Kate carried a large bag filled with gifts. William held the colorful bouquets of flowers he had picked himself. "Dr. Mitchell explained quietly that 12 children were in the ward. Some were recovering, some were very sick. One of them was Emma." "She doesn't know you're coming," the doctor whispered. "None of them do. It's going to be a surprise." William and Kate both smiled, but behind their smiles, their eyes were full of deep emotion. They started with room 201. A boy named David, 10 years old, lay in bed reading a comic book. When William and Kate walked in, his comic book dropped to the floor. He stared at them. Are you real?" he asked. Kate laughed softly and walked over to his bed. "Very real," she said. "And we came to meet you, David." William picked up the comic book and looked at the cover. "This superhero looks brave," he said, "but I think you're braver." David smiled so big that his eyes sparkled. He forgot all about the pain in his legs. For a few minutes, he was just a happy boy with 2 kind visitors who made him feel important. Room after room, the reactions were the same. Some children froze. Others cried happy tears. Some hugged Kate tightly. A few could only smile because they were too weak to speak. William bent down to talk with every child. He asked about their favorite colors, their favorite cartoons, what they liked to draw. Kate gave out small toys, picture books, soft teddy bears, and hugs. She touched their hands gently, looked into their eyes, and smiled like a mother. One set of twin girls, Lucy and Emma, not the Emma they were here for, couldn't believe it. "Are we dreaming?" one whispered. "No, sweet girl." Kate replied softly, "You're wide awake, and this moment is all yours." The hallway began to fill with quiet tears, not just from children, from nurses, from doctors, even the security staff standing nearby. They had seen many royal visits before, but this was different. At the far end of the hall stood Nurse Jennifer, the woman who had written the letter. She had her hands over her mouth, her eyes full of tears. She could not believe that her simple letter had done this, that it had brought William and Kate here. But still, they had not yet reached room 204. That was where Emma was. Emma had no idea that her life was about to change forever. She was sitting on her bed in her pink nightgown. Her plastic tiara sat crooked on her head as always. She was working on a new drawing. This time it was a picture of a castle with flags flying high and stars shining all around it. She was singing quietly to herself, a made-up song about kindness, bravery, and fairy tale dreams. Outside her room, William and Kate had stopped walking. They could hear her soft singing. It was sweet, innocent, pure. Kate felt a lump in her throat. She placed her hand on her heart. William looked at her. "You ready?" he whispered. Kate nodded slowly. "Let's give her the best moment of her life." William gently knocked on the door. Inside, Emma looked up from her drawing. "Come in," she said. The door opened slowly. First came William, then Kate. Emma's crayon fell from her hand. Her eyes widened. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. She stared and stared. Then she whispered, "Am I dreaming?" Kate walked gently to her bed and sat beside her. "No, sweetheart, you're not dreaming. We came just for you." Emma gasped. You're Princess Kate. And Prince William." William laughed kindly. "We heard there's a very brave princess in room 204. We wanted to meet her." Emma blushed and giggled. Her cheeks turned pink. "That's me," she whispered. "I'm Princess Emma." Kate looked around at all the drawings. Her eyes were wet. "These are beautiful," she said. "You're an amazing artist." Emma sat up a little straighter. "I draw my dreams," she said proudly, "so they stay alive." William gently placed the bouquet on her table. "These are for you." Then Kate reached into her bag and took out a small velvet box. She opened it slowly. Inside was the sparkling silver tiara, the one once worn by Princess Diana. Emma gasped. Her little hand flew to her mouth. "This belonged to a real princess," Kate said, "and now it belongs to another one. You." Emma looked at the tiara, then at Kate, then at William. She could not stop smiling. "You made my dream come true," she whispered. Kate leaned closer and placed the tiara gently on Emma's head. "You've always been a princess," she said softly. "Now the world knows it too." And in that small hospital room, time stopped. The nurses cried. The doctor cried. Even William had tears in his eyes. Because sometimes, real royalty is found in the heart of a little girl. A girl who never stopped believing in kindness, hope, and love. Emma sat very still, afraid to move as the beautiful silver tiara rested gently on her head. Her tiny fingers slowly reached up to touch it, just to feel if it was really there. She was afraid the moment might disappear like a dream. But the tiara didn't fade. It sparkled softly under the hospital lights, resting perfectly on her short brown hair. Emma looked at her reflection in the small mirror beside her bed. Her eyes filled with wonder. "I look like a real princess," she whispered. Kate smiled warmly. "That's because you are one." William sat beside Emma on the other side of her bed. He gently picked up one of her drawings, a picture of a magical forest where animals could talk and the trees were covered in stars. "You have such an imagination," he said. "Do you write stories too?" Emma nodded quickly. "Sometimes. I tell the stories to the other kids. I make them smile." "You're doing more than smiling," William said. "You're giving them hope." Kate reached into her gift bag and brought out a soft pink blanket. It had stars and crowns stitched into it. "This is for your royal naps," she said, placing it over Emma's lap. "Even princesses need rest." Emma giggled again, then turned serious. "Can I ask you something?" "Anything," Kate said. Emma looked down for a second. "Why did you really come?" William looked at her with kind eyes. "We read a letter. A very special nurse told us about a brave girl who brings light to everyone around her. She said you were fighting a hard battle, but still smiling, still helping others. That's the kind of courage the world needs." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "You came just for me?" Kate nodded. "Only for you." In that moment, it wasn't a hospital room anymore. It was a fairy tale castle. The machines, the medicine, the pain, it all faded into the background. What stayed was the magic of being seen, of being loved, of being believed in. Outside the room, nurses had gathered quietly. They watched through the small window in the door. Many had tears running down their faces. Some held each other's hands. Nurse Jennifer stood at the back. She had her arms crossed tightly, trying not to cry. She had written the letter out of love, not expecting anything, and now she was watching a miracle unfold in front of her. As William and Kate stayed longer in Emma's room, they talked about everything: favorite books, favorite animals, dreams. Emma told them about the day she first put on her plastic tiara. "I felt strong," she said, "like I could beat the sickness." William smiled and said, "That's real strength, Emma. You're stronger than any soldier I've ever met." Kate added, "And more graceful than any royal I know." Time passed quickly. Soon, a nurse gently knocked on the door to remind them about the other children still waiting. William looked at Kate and she gave a small nod. It was time to go. But before leaving, Kate reached into her bag one last time. She pulled out a small leather book with a silver ribbon around it. "This is a storybook," she told Emma, "but it's empty. It's for your own stories, your dreams, your magic." Emma took it with wide eyes. "I'll fill every page," she promised. Kate leaned down and gave her the gentlest hug. William followed, placing a small kiss on Emma's forehead. "We'll never forget you," Kate whispered. "You're our princess now," William added. As they stepped out of the room, Emma was still smiling. Her tiara sparkled, her eyes shone, and the hospital, for that moment, felt full of light. William and Kate continued visiting the rest of the children. Each child got time, love, a gift, and a smile. But something was different after room 204. Everyone could feel it. Something in the air had changed. Later that evening, after the visit ended, William and Kate sat quietly in the back of the car. Neither of them spoke for a long time. They just held hands and looked out the window. Finally, William said softly, "That little girl, she's unforgettable." Kate nodded slowly. "She changed me. I don't know how to explain it. She reminded me what it really means to serve." That night, back at Kensington Palace, the staff welcomed them home with quiet respect. No one asked questions. They didn't have to. They could see it in William and Kate's faces. Something powerful had happened. A few days later, the royal family shared a single photo with the public. It showed Emma sitting in her hospital bed wearing the silver tiara, with William and Kate smiling beside her. No press release, no news conference, just a photo, and that photo traveled around the world. People cried when they saw it. People shared it with their families. News channels showed it with soft music. Headlines read, "The day royalty met real courage." Emma became a symbol of hope. People from every corner of the world sent cards, drawings, and letters to the Hospital. Many wrote, "Thank you, Princess Emma, for reminding us to be brave." Emma's story touched millions. But to William and Kate, she was not a story. She was a real girl. A girl who made them remember why they did what they did. Not for crowns or titles, but for people. For love. Months passed. Emma's health slowly got worse, but she never stopped smiling. She never stopped drawing. Her tiara stayed on her nightstand. She called it her magic crown, and every time someone asked her, "Did that really happen?" she would smile and say, "Yes, I met them. They came for me, and they called me their princess." In the end, it was not the jewels, the hospital walls, or even the illness that people remembered. It was the moment. That one unforgettable moment, when two royals walked into a small room, knelt beside a sick little girl, and made the world believe in love again.